I've been watching some ACT advice videos recently, and it pains me every single time I hear people say, this is the best guessing strategy, or always guess the letter E because it's the most likely letter. How about this? Instead of telling you how to guess better, I show you how to actually get problems correct. Here are my favorite ACT math strategies that actually work. This first tip honestly might be the secret to getting good at any kind of math. Let's look at this problem as an example. We basically have to find the missing side here of this triangle. So to solve this problem, you're supposed to recognize that this is a right triangle, and so you can use the Pythagorean theorem, a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Then you just plug in the numbers, so 9 squared plus b squared equals 15 squared, and then you're just supposed to solve for b in the equation. So let's say that you didn't know what this was. You didn't know that you were supposed to use the Pythagorean theorem. Well, then you're probably going to get this question wrong. But you would only get this question wrong. But let's say that you didn't know how to do this problem because you couldn't solve for x at the end. Well, then you're going to get this problem wrong, and this problem wrong, and this problem wrong. So what this means is that before you start studying little things like the Pythagorean theorem, you need to make sure you know the fundamentals like solving for x, how graphs work, how to simplify expressions, and so on. If you're not sure what to study, I actually found this pretty helpful Reddit post that has the 15 topics that are guaranteed to be on the ACT. So that'll be in the description if you want to look at that. So tip number one is that you have to know the fundamentals. Now let's say that you're taking the test and you get a problem that you didn't study and you just have no clue how to do it. Well, you're not just going to blindly guess. Instead, there may be more than one way to solve the problem. Let's look at this problem. It says, which of these is a solution to the equation x squared minus 5x plus 6 equals 0? Well, this is a quadratic equation, and usually there's multiple ways to solve a quadratic equation. But let's say that you don't remember any of them and you have no clue where to start. Well, what most students will do when they see a problem that they have no clue how to solve is they'll just guess a random letter. Maybe I'll just guess C because I always guess C when I don't know the answer. Well, before we just guess blindly, we first want to see if there's another way to solve the problem. And one of the most common ways to alternatively solve a problem is to go from the answers to the question and test out the answers. So for example, if I wanted to test if A is the right answer, I could just plug in 1 in for x. So this equation would become 1 squared minus 5 times 1 plus 6 equals 0. And then I just solve the equation to see if it equals 0. So 1 squared is 1, minus 5 times 1 is 5, plus 6. 1 minus 5 is negative 4, plus 6 is 2. And that does not equal 0. So we know that A can't be the answer. Let's try B now, which is 3. So if I plug in 3 for x in this equation, then we get 3 squared, 3 times 3 is 9, minus 5 times 3, which is 15, plus 6 equals 0. 9 minus 15 is negative 6, and negative 6 plus 6 equals 0. So we didn't even solve this problem the way we were supposed to, but by working backwards, we figured out that the answer is B, 3. So sometimes instead of actually answering the question, you can just work backwards to figure out what the answer is. Now, one of the most stressful things about taking the ACT is the time limit. So to save a little time, what if I told you that you don't always have to solve the entire problem? So for this problem, it says that we need to find the solution to this system of equations. And because there are two numbers, there's a pair of numbers in each answer choice. That means we're probably going to have to solve for both x and y. Now, there's two ways to solve systems of equations. There's substitution and there's elimination. And it looks like they want us to do elimination here. Because the plus 2y and the minus 2y, those just cancel out. And we'll add together the rest of the equations. So x plus 3x, that's 4x. And then that's going to equal 3 plus 5, which is 8. And now we just have a one-step problem, so let's go ahead and solve for x. This is multiplication here, so I'm going to do the opposite of multiplication, which is division, and divide both sides by 4. And this is just going to leave us with x equals 8 divided by 4, which is 2. Now, the next step of a system of equations is to plug in x equals 2 into either equation and solve for y. But wait a minute, let's look at our answer choices again. A and B say that x is equal to 1. D says that x is equal to 3. The only one that says that x is equal to 2 is answer choice C. So we don't even have to solve for y. We know that the answer has to be C. Now, obviously, it would be better if we then solved for y just to make sure it's 1/2, and to make sure we did the problem correctly. But if you're running out of time and you've still got a lot of problems to do, checking your answer with Y would take too long. So just pick C and move on. So when you're solving a problem, check to see if you don't need to do the entire problem to figure out what the answer is. Now, let's say that you get a problem that you're really stumped on, and none of the strategies that we've talked about so far will work for this problem. Well, you could just guess that ACT actually recently reduced the amount of options for a math problem from 5 to 4. But that's still only a 25% chance. So let's try to improve those odds just a little bit. Maybe even do 100%. Here's another example problem where we have an imaginary number problem and we need to simplify this square root thing. Now, if we absolutely don't remember how to do this, we're not just going to guess from these 4 choices. We first need to see if we can eliminate some of them first. And the thing that you have to understand is that the question writers don't just pick the wrong answers randomly, like from a random number generator. They're trying to pick answers that they think you would accidentally get as your answer. So personally, I find it fairly suspicious that we have 3 plus 2i and 3 minus 2i both as answer choices. It kind of suggests that they're going to want us to pick between a plus and a minus. And if we look at this further, over here we have a 5 in both of these. And I mean, the square root of 9 is 3 and the square root of 4 is 2. So they're trying to bait us into thinking that we're supposed to just add these 2 square roots together. But if you think about it, we know that the square root of 9 is 3. And that's not an imaginary number, right? That's not going to have an I in it. So why would our final answer only have an I in it? Like, that's just an imaginary number. We know that our answer needs to have the real number 3 in it. And so I can eliminate choices A and B. And looking at these 2 answer choices might be enough to jog your memory about how we do this. I mean, to me, it looks like because we have a plus sign here and we have a plus sign here, the answer is probably C. But even if you didn't know that 3 plus 2i was the answer instead of 3 minus 2i, well, just eliminating those first 2 answers brought our guessing chances up to 50-50. Another example of this might come if, for example, we were doing a distributive property problem. I guarantee you that if you saw this on the test, one of the answer choices would be something like 5x plus 7y, because they want you to think that you're supposed to add 3 plus 2 and then 3 plus 4. But that's not what this is. There is no addition sign here. Whenever you have a number next to something else in algebra, that's multiplication. So we can immediately eliminate answer A. So if you're not sure of what the answer is, start thinking like the question writer and see if you can eliminate some of the obviously wrong answers. Now, we've gone over a lot of tips and strategies that you can use on test day, but really there's only one way to guarantee that you'll be prepared for the ACT. A lot of students will just go and watch videos like this one, looking for some sort of hack or strategy that will change the way that they take tests. But they'll never actually see what an ACT problem really looks like until they take the test. So the number one best way to prepare for the ACT is to do practice problems, do more practice problems, and do even more practice problems. The more real problems that you do, the more you'll start to see patterns that you can use on test day. But it would be even better if you had these problems explained to you after you tried them so that you can learn from your mistakes. If only there was some sort of YouTube video out there where you could do that. Oh, I I guess it's that video. Okay, well, that's cool, I guess.